Welcome back. President Biden on the world stage today, marking the 80th anniversary of D-Day in Normandy, France. Meanwhile, the Biden administration is still pushing for an Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal. CIA Director Bill Burns is in Doha to meet with Qatari and Egyptian mediators. Back in the U.S., the House passing a bill to sanction the International Criminal Court over its move to seek arrest warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu and other Israeli leaders. Joining me now is Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton. He's a member of the Senate Judiciary, Intelligence, and Armed Services Committees. Senator, great to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here today.
Good morning, Maria. Good to be back on with you.
Well, I want to, on this D-Day, first thank you for your service to this great country. And tell you how proud I am to talk with you and how a nation thanks you as well, sir.
Well, thank you, Maria, very much for that. What a wonderful day to remember the heroism and the bravery and the sacrifice of millions of Americans who fought in World War II, and especially all those who took the beaches in Normandy 80 years ago today to help liberate Europe from Nazi tyranny. We have a 100-year-old veteran of D-Day from Arkansas there. We're so proud of the greatest generation and so pleased that we can honor them once again.
Yes, we really are, and I agree with that. You introduced the illegitimate court counteraction yesterday. This is a companion bill to the House legislation. Tell me about this and what you're trying to achieve.
Maria, the International Criminal Court is a rogue, globalist kangaroo court. The United States has never ratified the treaty. It's not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Israel is not either, yet this court continues to target Israel and Americans. It targeted American service members in Afghanistan, and as a result, President Trump slapped sanctions on its prosecutors and other officials there. What did Joe Biden do when he took office? He immediately removed those sanctions. And what did we get for that? We get them issuing arrest warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu and other Israeli officials in the middle of a brutal war for survival against a savage terrorist group. So we're simply saying that we should restore the sanctions that Donald Trump imposed. The House of Representatives voted on that this week, bipartisan fashion with more than 40 Democrats, even though Joe Biden worked furiously behind the scenes to stop Democrats from voting on it. We should repudiate this court. We should repudiate Joe Biden's support for this court, restore Donald Trump's policy. Chuck Schumer should bring this up for a vote immediately in the U.S. Senate so we can protect our allies Israel and protect our troops around the world.
Well, do you see that happen? Do you see Schumer bringing that to the floor?
Well, the vote in the House will put pressure on him, as I know a lot of his pro-Israel supporters from New York will also be very disappointed if he doesn't bring it up for a vote in the Senate. You know what? He can oppose it if he wants to. We should simply have a vote. When you get more than a fifth of the Democratic caucus in the House, that bill to support our great ally Israel deserves a vote in the U.S. Senate.
The U.S. and other Five Eyes alliance nations are warning now that China is working to aggressively recruit current and former Western military pilots. They want those pilots to train their Air Force and Navy aviators. The alliance describing the effort as a persistent threat. Senator, I want to get your thoughts on this, because here we are talking about Nazi Germany on the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and the Communist Party has been showing lots of similar ways. And now, in addition to stealing intellectual property from America, they want to hire our pilots.
Maria, this is a very disturbing trend. It's been happening for a few years. I've taken steps in the past to highlight the threat and try to stop it as well. This is more about our allies and their former pilots who are helping China train its pilots, something that President Biden and the administration should be doing more to pressure our allies to make sure that pilots who are trained in NATO or other American allied militaries, oftentimes with American aircraft and expertise, are not turning around to train communist Chinese pilots. We never would have allowed this to happen during the Cold War. We never would have allowed European pilots to train Soviet Russian pilots. We certainly shouldn't allow it to happen with communist China.
Do you see comparisons between communist China today and the 1930s, 1940s, before the Allies took over World War II and began the fight?
Well, Maria, some of the steps that Communist China has taken, but I would actually expand it more broadly around the world. What I see is a series of disturbing threats or hostile adversarial actions that are occurring in large part because Joe Biden, the American president, is too weak to deter them. Look at what China has done, for instance, to its own people in the Xinjiang province, persecuting religious minorities. Look what it did to Taiwan just last month, totally encircling the island in supposed military exercises, which look suspiciously like a rehearsal for an invasion. Look what Iran has done in the Middle East, not just targeting Israelis with genocidal attacks on October 7th, but allowing their proxies to shoot at U.S. Navy vessels in the Red Sea without really being shot back at President Biden's utter failure to withdraw our troops safely and securely from Afghanistan in 2021 that led to Vladimir Putin's invasion in Russia. If you look back to the 1930s, there was a series of events at any time strong Western leadership could have deterred Nazi Germany and imperialist Japan, but you had weak Western leadership, something that Winston Churchill was ringing the alarm bell about throughout the 1930s, that led to the worst war in the history of the world. I worry now that President Biden's weakness and his failed foreign policy is encouraging our adversaries all around the world to continue to take these hostile actions. That's why we need President Trump back in office, who will deter our adversaries and reassure our allies and restore the peace and stability we had for 4 years in the Trump era.
Meanwhile, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer and Chairman Jim Jordan from Judiciary and House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith sending criminal referrals to the Justice Department yesterday, recommending both Hunter Biden and James Biden be charged with lying to Congress about key aspects of the Biden impeachment inquiry. Senator, your reaction?
Well, it's not surprising, Maria. I mean, Hunter Biden lies usually when he opens his mouth. He's literally on trial right now in Delaware for lying on federal forms. I take these allegations very seriously, and I call on Merrick Garland to immediately investigate them, just like he did anytime Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats referred people for criminal prosecution who had worked for Donald Trump or who had been in Donald Trump's campaign or otherwise supported Donald Trump. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, even when it's the president's son, in particular, given the president's son's already facing charges for lying on a federal form, in addition to other charges like cheating on his taxes.
Unbelievable.